Hey everybody, Chevy, nobody else's auto. We're out on the road, stopped by to see another old friend of mine. Now, we've done some videos in here before. He's not open to the public anymore. He's getting up in age, but you know, he's still definitely a car fan, and he's kind enough to let me in and let me share some of this stuff with you. So he always tells me if you've got any specific questions about something you see in this video, you can always give me a call and I can get a hold of him. I get through this part of the country a couple times a year. Obviously, you can tell just from the trees and the types of trees and the things behind me that definitely not out in the flatlands of central and western Kansas. But a lot of cool stuff in here, and just I'm really glad that he allows me to share some of it with you. So we're gonna go do a little bit more wandering around. One interesting thing about this place is we never know what's around the corner. There's a lot of cool stuff in here. They've been bringing cars in here since the early 60s, and there's a lot of neat stuff. So let's go wander around a bit, check out, see what we can find. One thing around this place, there are several engine piles. We've shared some of them with you before, but there are a lot of them around here. A lot of this stuff, like I said, has been in here for decades. Old flathead Ford, 6-cylinder. We'll just kind of work our way around a few of these engines and then head back and check out some of these vehicles. There's an old Oldsmobile rocket engine. Wow, check out this third member laying here on the ground. That's a horse. The bugs are thick out here today. It's overgrown, it's hot, it's sticky. That's what it's like out here in the summer sometimes. But let's check out this little van, a little Corvair van. Not a lot left of this one. Been in here for a really long time. And one thing about vans, when they are in salvage yards, they become storage. This one happens to be a transmission storage facility. '67 Pontiac, Bonneville. A little more complete on this side than it is on the left side. But once again, this old car's been in here for a long time. Ford pickup. This is actually even a unibody. Little 61, 62 Ford unibody pickup. Work our way on back around to a few more vans. Shoot, even a Dodge Omni. Like I said, you know, you never know what we're going to see in here. Every time we go around the corner, it's going to be something different. That's a pretty good example of it. But anyway, let's get back to a few of these vans. Old Econoline. Around a 1970-ish Econoline. V8 van even, kind of peeking there, had a V8. And once again, also a transmission storage facility. How about a Chevy Sport van? This must have been a really style and ride back in the day based on the shag carpeting on the dash, as well as the shag carpeting still on the engine cover. And if we peek up, paneling on the ceiling. Yes, I bet this was one styling unit back in its day. A big Dodge van. This thing is huge. Mid-70s era. That was a big, big van. In the classic 70s era green and white color scheme. And as we wrap up this row of vans, how about another Corvair van? So we started off with, let's finish up with one. Come around the corner to an old Buick, 1966 Buick LeSabre 4-door. Engine storage on the roof on this particular old Buick. International pickup. And as we loop around from the international pickup, how about a 55 Buick? This one a little special two-door sedan. Obviously been in here for a really long time. A large selection of engine parts stored inside of this little special. Since this is a special, it had 3 portholes. In 55, the only Buick that did have 3 portholes. Century, Super, Roadmaster all had 4 by 1955. And as you can tell, this one's been in here for a really long time. How about this old Dodge? Going back to the mid-70s for this Mopar. Very, very typical of what would have been used as a police cruiser in the mid-70s. This one was smacked pretty good here over on the right front corner years ago, probably why it ended up in here. How about that? I believe that is an early Mercury Capri. A little import job sold by Mercury, if I remember correctly. Not a car you see very often. And I don't know much about those cars, but they are pretty unique. Not a heck of a lot left of it, but they are different. Here's something everybody's a little more familiar with, the 1964 Ford Galaxy. This one, your basic 4-door sedan. And obviously, like a lot of the cars in here, it's definitely seen better days. Most of the front clip is gone. Engine's in pieces. Inside's pretty much shot. But these cars have been in here for years, and this is an old salvage yard, so that's what they were here for, just like this little Falcon. Little four-door Falcon, 60-61 era. See if we can get up here and take a look at the grill. And this one looks like a 61 to me. Obviously seen better days. And realistically, that's the way a lot of these cars are. Most of the stuff in here, just parts cars, just bits and pieces. Trunk was cut open years ago. And a lot of people can say, you know, why is this stuff even there? You know, it should just be crushed. Well, we talk about it on here a lot. Once you crush this stuff, it's gone. Nothing can ever be used from it. And a lot of people can say that about this stuff and say, yeah, there isn't anything worth using. Well, you can say that till you need something and you can't find it. Even this car here, this 58 Biscayne, there's still bits and pieces of trim on this thing. It is a four-door sedan, but being a Biscayne, it had all the trim around the windows, dressed it up a little bit. Some of the stuff isn't easy to find. No, this car is not an Impala or anything super cool like that. But there's a lot of guys out there with nice old drivers that need bits and pieces and trim and things like that, even for an old four-door. So even though a lot of people say this stuff should just be crushed and be gone and be done, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I know how many guys are trying to find some of these oddball bits and pieces. Just like this old Dodge. Check out this rear bumper. Now the chrome's weak, but it's not crashed, it's not bent up, it's not rusted out. And that's a really unique old car. About a 59 era Dodge. Not much here for a front clip, but there's still bits and pieces there. Same thing with this old Satellite. There again, not a heck of a lot here. But sometimes some of these rougher cars, and this is a perfect example of what somebody got out of this. This is a rough car that's been in here for years and been stripped, but it apparently, at some point, somebody needed a solid cowl section. Well, this one being a two-door, it would be correct. But this car's rough, probably not going to get rebuilt. So sometimes you're able to salvage some of these structural parts off of cars like this to save others. So that's why I don't always agree with some of the people who say, yo, this stuff should all just be crushed and be done. Another little Mopar hatchback, little Omni or Horizon, one or the other. How about a couple of little, well, actually, I thought there were a couple of little Pontiacs. One's an Oldsmobile. The first one here, a Pontiac 6000. And this I thought was a Grand Am, but it is actually an Oldsmobile. So I believe this would be a Cutlass Sierra, if I remember correctly, going back to that era. How about that? Quad 4. That probably brings back some memories. Maybe not all good, but it should bring back some memories. Another full-size Ford, like a 65-ish. Shade feels nice back here. How about this big Monaco? Yes, big old early 70s era Dodge Monaco. Let's go ahead and walk around this little quad 4 Cutlass a little bit more. Now, inside of this thing is pretty much gutted. You know, these were late 80s era, into the early 90s a little bit. But we look inside here, we can see where this thing had a console, floor shift. Now, were these a performance car? No. But for the day, were they fairly sporty? Did they have a little bit of oomph? Realistically, they really did. You know, they were never very popular. Back in the day, they looked good, but they never really took off. They don't have a big following at this point. But for the times, they were kind of a sporty little car. This one got clobbered in the side, but we look through the weeds up here. Once again, we can see that big old quad 4 badge on the front fender. So let's go wander around and catch a couple more, and then we're probably just going to head off to a different area of this old yard. But a couple more interesting things let's check out up here. Got to be careful walking through here. I just about stumbled over there a second ago. There are transmissions and doors and other things laying around in here, bumpers. So you do have to be somewhat careful when you're walking around in here in the weeds. How about an old Chevy? This one, an Impala, 2-door hardtop, 72, I believe. Here's something kind of interesting. A Malibu 4-door hardtop. This is a 70 to 72 era. The nose is gone. The front fenders are here, but the whole nose is gone out of it. We'll work our way around the back of this thing and come up the other side, but something a little different. 4-door hardtop. You know, the 4-door hardtop body style came out by GM in the mid-50s. I've always liked the 4-door hardtops. I always thought they were a pretty decent looking car. You can roll all the windows down and you've got nice clean lines, and actually never have really been against a 4-door hardtop, me personally. I know some people don't like them just for the simple fact that they're a 4-door, but 4-door hardtops I have always thought were pretty sharp, clean bodies. So obviously we see round taillights, so this was a 71 or 72. Check out the old 66 Bonneville. So let's work our way around the front of this old Malibu. There's an old Rambler. Take a look at this trim tag and we see that it is a 72 Malibu based on our trim tag. 72 Malibu 4-door hardtop. Here's this little Rambler. This one is 770 from the mid-60s. There's the 66 Bonneville. This is also a 4-door hardtop. Let's go ahead and work our way back around, catch the other side of this Bonneville. And then there's a few other cool things we want to catch while we're in this area before we move on to another section of the yard. How about this old Desoto? Says it had an 8 in it, guys. Fire Dome V8. So we know how this was originally equipped. Yes, this would have had a Hemi in it originally. I don't know if we can get the hood open on this or not. And it's there, minus valve covers. But it is still in there. Valve cover's long gone, but it does still have its Hemi in it. Let's catch a few more wagons, and then we're going to move on to a different area of the yard. This one, a 63 Ford. See if we can squeeze around back here and check out this old Ford wagon. Now, one thing about this area, it is a fairly moist area. They get a lot of moisture down here in these trees, and which means there's a lot of rust in this area. So there's not a ton of sheet metal in here that's good. There is some, but a lot of these cars are heavily rusted. Another cool old Chrysler sitting right behind it. This one's a 4-door, but one other car I definitely want to catch on this video before we move on to another area of the yard is this super cool Chrysler wagon. Not sure on the exact year on this one. Mid-60s, 65, 66 era, I believe. But this is a cool looking car. Been in here for a super long time. Obviously heavily stripped, heavily weathered, heavily deteriorated. But man, in the day, can you imagine how cool this thing was? Two-tone, kind of with wood grain on the side, all that stainless trim on it. This thing would have been a super cool car. Obviously, we can see right there, factory air. Just an awesome old Chrysler Town and Country wagon. I don't know if we can get around to the front of this thing very easily or not, but let's give it a shot. It's just such a cool car. And like we talked about, it's been in here for a long time, but man, back in the day, that was one styling wagon. Well, there's another quick example of some of the cool cars that my buddy's got in this place. So, like I said, he's not where he can get out here on a regular basis, so he's not open to the public. Therefore, like I said earlier, if you've got some specific questions, you can always call me. I get through this part of the country a couple times a year, so I can usually catch up with him when I'm going through the area. So anyway, if you've got any questions, just like on all the other videos, give me a call, 620-786-4428. I'm just really glad and we're really fortunate that he's kind enough to allow me in here to shoot some videos, share some content with you guys, and let you check out all these super cool old rides. So you like old cars, you like old trucks, you like old memorabilia, be sure to check out the channel, Nobody's Show. It's about all we do on here because that's really about all I know what to talk about. But we have a lot of fun doing it and you don't want to miss any of it. So definitely click that subscribe button, click that notification button. Be sure to jump on board with us. We have a lot of fun on the lives. You don't want to miss any of those. And you definitely don't want to miss any of the new inventory that's coming into the yard or any of the stuff we check out while we're out on the road. Old salvage yards, swap meets, auctions, things like that. So Be sure to click that subscribe button. Stay tuned. We've got a lot more cool stuff coming up. You don't want to miss any of it. Thanks for watching this video, and we sure hope to see you soon on the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.